and again, Northwest Amp Guard has been notorious for issues with money, where officers would abscond with money. I mean, there was 2 or 3 situations where that had happened.
Wow.
And, it's like, it would really lame excuses. One person just straight up got caught, and there was a money trail going back to this person. And again, no jail time. They just lost all their titles, that sort of thing. And it's like, you gotta hold these people accountable. And likewise, it's like, if there's no repercussions for their actions, then people are going to keep doing it. They're going to be tempted to do it next time they have access to this money. And so I get the whole idea. I don't want to donate to this organization if it's not going to be spent the way I want it to. And again, that's the club versus company kind of mechanics, or not mechanics, ownership. Like, who owns it? Is it owned by the collective, like the club, or is it owned by a person or a group of people? I think, and again, I'm going to ramble a little bit about this. I think which one's more superior over the other? I would say definitely whoever. I like the company aspect. It's run like a company. It's run like a business. I like that over a club atmosphere, because club atmospheres tend to have like some really toxic people get in charge, and then they stay in charge. And that's what I saw. And it just burned me out. Whereas with a company, it's like, who's in charge. It's pretty clear right off the bat.
Who to hold accountable.
Right. And it's like they hold whoever is there is accountable. So it's like you step out of line. Well, guess what? The owner can kick you out for any reason, whenever.
Yeah.
I mean, generally, there's a list of things when you step out of line, but not to, because there's one person that will do it because his business is on the line. Whereas a club is like, whatever. That's Joe over there, old drunk Joe. We'll just kind of keep an eye on him. He's hitting on 16-year-old girls or whatever. That's just Joe. And it's like, companies wouldn't really tolerate that for the most part.
Well, and just from a rules perspective, the bureaucracy needed to change a rule in Dag Bell and AmpGuard because they are club structures. If I have a major issue, I go to my park first, and then I go to my kingdom, and then I go to my kingdom's board of directors, and then I might get to AmpGuard's board of directors. Right. Or if there's a rule that wants to be changed, you're talking about a 3-year-long process to change one line in the rule book. Whereas if it's a company and if something needs to be done, you do it. That's how it is.
They think about it and they tell the player base, but ultimately it's down to one person's call, and then it's made. Yep. That's it.
And if as a player you don't like it, in Dag Bell and an AmpGuard, you go onto the Facebook page and you complain about it and hope it gets better. Where if you don't like it versus the company, just you vote with your feet. If you don't like it, go play another game. And the economy of it, if they made a bad choice, they will have to go back on it if they're losing enough money. And that's how things get done. I like that model too. Yeah.
And for me, I've had fewer incidents of like really, really poor behavior. And when you have a higher event cost, when you have when it's run like a business versus a club, like they were like really hard drugs being done at like Empire when I was doing, like one guy had went blind from some bad bad acid that he took. And it's like meth is out there, and it's like you get caught with that sort of stuff, and most of the business run LARPs, they're going to kick you out.
Yeah, you're out.
They're going to ban you.
Because it's a liability on them.
Right. There was one guy who had an empty beer can in a cabin, and at the state park, that the game organizer found this, and it was like, nope. They, if we get caught with any, alcohol here, like a park ranger sees you and you're drunk, or you have, a empty beer can, even if you didn't even drink it there, they're going to think that we're drinking here. We're going to get kicked out of the spot, and we don't want to do that. And so you violated a rule that was very clear, and then they booted him.
Yep. I get that. It's interesting to see how different LARPs set themselves up and the positives and negatives of both sides of that. It's a fascinating conversation because they're all set up so differently, and you can like, ooh, I like this, ooh, I like that, and then kind of seeing how they all kind of come together.
And I think that's one thing. It's like if and again, if you're in a club, it's like, well, I'd like to change some things, so I have to get into power, and then it's like this long process of working the politics and trying to get into office and things like that, and then maintaining it and trying to integrate your ideas into action. There's a big schism in Dagger here right now because they want to change some of the rules, but they can't because they're not part of Eritari, and you have to be a part of that particular chapter and for a certain amount of time, and then get elected into a position of, and it's like some people are like, I don't want to. This is something that we cannot change. You're basically telling us we cannot change it at all. There's nothing we can do to do that. And again, with the club atmosphere, you can't really change it. And as a business, you kind of say, hey, look, I have a problem with this, and maybe other people do too. But if you're not going to do anything about it, then likewise, I got to walk away. And it's the same thing with like Dagger here, Amtgard, Damarong, Biko, whatever. If there's something that I just cannot morally support, then I would just walk.
Yeah, for sure. And I know Amtgard has a culture of those who step up on the national level tend to not last very long. Like we eat our own very, very much. So the guy in the 90s, Aramithras, right? He was in charge of it all. Then his group got booted by Brennan and his group. And then Brennan ended up getting booted. And I don't know who the big name is like right now. But
one narcissist rise to power, then another one replaces them.
Yep.
And eventually it's like the friends that supported you tend to fall away and you don't have that support anymore. Then you have another guy that's, coming up, and eventually, this cycle of narcissists that step up into these positions. And I've seen it. I've seen the reruns of it.
And luckily, the last few years, Amtgard has moved to the Amtgard International Board of Directors. And I think that has helped quite a bit because the rules revision process and the New Kingdom process and all of that has now been shifted to one person can't quite be in charge of everything anymore. And I like that. Yeah. It is inching better and better. How about that? It's not exactly where I want it to be, but it is better than what it was when I started.